Windows. I have sanded very roughly, but with fine sandpaper, these windows. Now these are for the sides of the house. So in the main rooms and the landings, there's separate windows for the front of the house. I'll do those later. Sanded them wearing gloves and a mask. I actually like to sand outside on a non-windy day, away from my wildlife pond, and making sure that Max isn't around. And then I've been going over with MDF primer. This wood is very thirsty, and the way I do it, let me just give you some tips in case you're just starting this, is I go around the outside. It dries really quickly on the brush. Go around the inside of the window frames first, because that's where the roughest bit of the MDF is, and it will soak it up really quickly and just smooth out anything that goes through. But it's the inside that really you want the most primer to go, because that is the roughest part. It's very easy to paint the outside. It's a fiddle diddle painting all the inside edges and not getting splodges in the corner. So what I will do afterwards, I can see a bit of a splodge there. What I will do when this is dried is I will go over with some more sandpaper with mask and gloves on, because it's still MDF, and just smooth it off, get it a nice finish, excuse me, and then go over with some proper paint. Don't paint round the outside edge. I know it's very tempting, but otherwise you'll find it probably won't fit in the hole very well. And you want a nice fit. If you paint around there, you're probably going to have to sand it to get it fitting in most doll's house cutaways. But check with your house first and see how it works for you. And I'll show you when I've done the next bit. Windows. So I have, let's move these. I was getting ahead of myself and I thought, must just do your video. I have I've sanded, primed and painted these window frames. These are for the sides of the house. They're the sort of things, because it's MDF, you can sand and sand and sand and sand and fiddle and fettle. At some point you have to decide enough is enough. So now I've done all that. I haven't painted around the edges. I do need to touch up in case this little edge is visible from the front, but I will put the glazing on first. Just check it, offer it up again, make sure you know which window is going in which hole, because there can be slight size differences. And I have bought, it was A4 sheet, but I've just cut it up, and oh dear. Okay, maybe I won't use that one, that's got glue on it. I bought A4 sheets of acetate. Now this is very thin acetate. You can get window acetate. The stuff I used for Bramble Cottage was much thicker. This is very thin. Be careful with it because it will scratch quite easily, but it's good enough. This is for the side windows, as I say. And there's always a debate about, do you put the acetate on the outside, because there aren't glazing bars on the outside, so there's just this. So do you stick the acetate on the outside or on the inside? Now if you put it on the outside, and then this window is going to go into the whole of the house, so you're looking at this from the outside, you're going to see the acetate all over, but it's going to create some more thickness between the moulding of the cutaway of the side of the wall of your house and the window. I want to say frame, but it's not strictly a frame, is it, between the window. So that's going to make this window bit stick out more, and I'll show you in the house in a second. If you put it on the inside, so this is the side that's going to be into the room, it will look neater from the outside because you'll see the glazing bars on the outside and the acetate there, but from the inside you're going to see the acetate over the whole window unit. But bearing in mind you're going to have curtains which will distract the eye. There's a lot you won't notice particularly. I'm putting the acetate on the inside. I have given this quite a lot of thought, and that's what I've come up with. So I'm using a product called Glue and Glaze, which is supposed to be good for making, it says, making crystal clear windows and bonding canopies, most plastics. It seems to be very good. And I've already done a couple of these, so I've worked out what I'm doing. Tiny little dots, because it will spread when you stick on the acetate. Tiny dots. And remember, this acetate, if you buy a couple of extra sheets, this very thin stuff is quite cheap. You can use for picture frames and all sorts of other things. Then I put the acetate on over there. So I'm all painty fingers. And turn it over, and I'm putting this on a tissue. Now I need to let that dry, and then I can trim that off, and I can see a little bit of paint that isn't very good on there, so I will touch that up. I need to cut another bit of acetate for this one because I'm in such a muddle fuddle here. I'm trying to get things done before I have to go and cook tea, and I've got some glue on this other piece of acetate, so I'll cut another bit. I will keep this because this may well do for something else, a picture frame or something, and then I can let these dry, and then I will trim them off using my blade and my cutting board. I can, and a ruler, and I can cut round. It's easier to cut off the spare rather than trying to cut the exact amount, because I just cut it from its A4 size into A5 just with scissors. I don't want to get fingerprints on it, that's the thing. Trying to keep my fingers off it, or at least the fingers off the bits that are going to be as windows. So just to show you what I meant, this window sits flush on this wall, but there are going to be curtains hanging down there, and I'm making a pelmet for across the top. Yes, I haven't done that bit of architrave. Having so much trouble with these angles, it's a real laugh. My poor brain. So the acetate is on this side of the window, and on this side, you see I haven't done the outside of the house yet. All that needs painting. I will have to paint around this rebate carefully a bit more, but you're looking at the window and it looks more like there is glass in there. Really pleased with how this is coming out. It's okay. Working on the curtains. Show you those in another video. I'm trying to explain to you about doing the coving around this chimney breast. I'm not very good at technical explanation, so this is in Sioux language. So these covings, the joints, think of them as innies. Does your brain work anything like mine? These are innies. Innies. This is, around here, it's got to be outies. So you can either think of this as, now we are the ceiling and we're looking down on these cut pieces, because I finally figured it out. Or if you're stuck with your innies and outies, if you can find some sort of home, I don't know, National Trust or even an old coffee shop or something that has this sort of coving that you can just take time to have a look at and see how it works. So now, of course, that's all the wrong way, isn't it? But outies. So the angles are cut in my house, it's probably the same for yours. I can't figure out why it wouldn't be. 45 degrees, and one side is the bit that's going to touch the ceiling. So I needed to do it on a piece of paper first to work out what I was doing. And I hope this helps. It's one of those things that when you get it, you get it, but until you get it, you haven't got it. And I have to confess, I cut so many bits of wood wrong. So keep scraps to practice on to get the angles, particularly for this little bit here. Anyway, I hope this helps. I will show you when I've stuck it on the ceiling. So here we are with the bedroom cornice glued on. Okay, this joint here is not perfect. And if I was painting it white, I would have been putting in some filler or something. But I haven't, and I'm not. I like to have a bit of imperfection for people to spot, because then they think to themselves, I can do better than that. So I'm very happy with that. I'll leave it like that. The wood is incredibly soft, so to get it as a super fine, perfect, neat angle is tricky, but I'm happy with that. There was something else I was going to say. What was it? Yeah, I wanted to stain it, and I didn't want to fill it, wood filler, and then stain in situ, because I didn't want to risk getting stain running down the wallpaper in any way. Maybe I would have done it perfectly neatly. I don't know. But anyway, I wonder if I can get the camera in. Look, I've even done round there as well. So it's all done. Fireplace is done. Yes, there's a little bit of glue underneath that window there. By the time I've got curtains, you won't notice. I've got the skirting fitted round the fireplace here, but I haven't stuck in the fireplace, so I can pull that out and dress the fireplace. I might glue it later, I don't know. So I think that's where we are with the woodwork. I've got lighting challenges going on, so the kitchen remains unfinished, but all the doors are done. Really happy, really pleased. Woodwork, for now, I will say, is done. Hurrah! This is the fireplace that I bought for the living room in Ashton Place, my townhouse, and it is Doll's House Emporium. It is a collector's item, so it's in one of their bare wood ranges, and I thought we'll see how it comes out. I've done a few little bits to it. I kept it in its plastic box just to protect it. I don't know what this bit is supposed to be, like a grill, but you know what? I don't really like it. I think it's a bit near. So that's going to go. And I have painted the recess black. It is attached, so I can't take that out and put in brick. I thought I could try and get in there a piece of paper with some brickwork on it, but I decided just to paint it black, and there's more to paint. So there's quite a bit of fettling, what I call fettling, to do, sanding off rough bits, and I'm going to paint this so that it looks like stone. I'm not going to do wood. There's wood in the bedroom on that fireplace, but I'm going to do this so this is stone, because we've got different grains of wood and stuff like that, and I think if it was just stained, it would bring that out, that they are different styles of wood. Nice top there, nice shelf on the top. And so I'm going to paint this bit at the bottom as if it was a slate for the hearth. These little bits I'm probably going to pick out with some gold enamel as if they were brass. And I'm going to make a fire grate in there for wood. And so it needs a bit more work on the inside, but all sorts of bits of sanding to tidy it up. But I can do that little bit at a time at my leisure. You see there's some rough bits. Don't expect any of these bare wood pieces to come ready to go, really. Expect to do some tidying up on them, and they may well be stuck in a little bit wonky. You see this one is stuck in uneven at the back. I could try and prise that out and break the glue and things. I'm not going to do that because I think it might break something, but also, you know what, it's near enough. Near enough is going to be sideways on in the living room, so you're not really going to notice it all that much. But I want to tidy up the detail of the mouldings and stuff. As you can see, I've put some filler in already, so I'm going to sand those out. And what I'm going to do mostly is I'm going to use these little pointy chisel-y things, needle files, and there is a link below where you can get them on Amazon if you can't get them in your local store. You see that one, I've broken the point off, I can't remember. Oh, that was making the hole for the doorknob in Bramble Cottage. I broke the tip off that because they're not as robust as you think they might be, but they're absolutely fine for doing some little tiny sanding details. But I think I was getting a bit rough with them. Never mind. So they come in all different shapes, so they're very useful for getting in all the little grooves. So I'll do some sanding, and I'm probably going to paint this with some primer or undercoat first. I'll have a little think about the paint job I'm going to give it. Let's give you a little update on the fireplace. I keep calling it a living room, but I think I need to call it a sitting room because they were sitting rooms in those days. Living rooms have become the more sort of modern thing, but when I was a child it was a sitting room. So it certainly was back in whenever this house was occupied. I've sanded, I've primed, and I painted it with, let's tell you what the colour was. It was actually buff titanium out of the tube. It wasn't something I blended, which was quite handy because I gave it 2 or 3 coats, sanded some more, painted some more, sanded some more, painted some more, and all that. Inside there is just plain acrylic black. So that's acrylic buff titanium. The hearth, because it's all integral through there and around here, I tend to use Payne's Grey for hearth. Because Payne's Grey has a bluey tinge to it, it's much more authentic for slate, if you want something to look like slate. And I thought, yep, the hearth will be slate. This has had several stains and sand and stains and sand, and I was sanding with 600 grain sandpaper, which I can show you a little bit of. It's incredibly fine, incredibly, really beautiful and fine. And if you keep with the grain, it will help a lot, but you will find as you put the stain on, it will lift some of the grain. So it's a bit of a work in progress. It's very hard to get a perfect finish on some things. So I used English light oak because I thought that would look well in there. And this bit, for brass, you can't get brass enamel paint, you have to use gold. So I used gold enamel paint and a very, very, very fine brush. I did part of it in a thicker brush, and then I went round the absolute edges with a really fine brush. And I used this fine brush as well to go around the tiny details round the bottom of these, the moulding. So make sure you've got a couple of really nice fine brushes available. They're really handy. This is finished with Liquitex medium because I've got it. I like using that. It sort of ties in with the other things I've got in the house. I was thinking about just waxing it, and then I thought, no, let's give it a bit of a sheen. And I picked out some bits. I had these, they're supposed to be sort of dead leaves and stuff, in Bramble Cottage. So I'm just throwing these in here. And at the moment, it's just sliding in sideways between the skirting boards. I don't feel the need to glue it to the wall. It's quite handy to be able to pull it out. I did mould the, cut the skirting boards to fit around the sticky out bits. But it's quite handy to be able to pull this out in order to dress this. So I'm going to make a wood basket for in there, and I've got little twiglets that I've gathered from the garden that I'm going to use as logs to go in there. So that's all done. There you are. It would be wonderful if you would subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell, and then you get notification of new videos, and hit like, please, if you've watched any and you find them of use, because that helps other people to find the videos as well. And I'd love to know where you are on your miniature journey and what projects you've got going on at the moment. Kitchen light works, and I've got these other two things to wire into that surround when I make that. Living room light doesn't work. I need to look at the plug for that. And bedroom light does work. I know this one doesn't work because the wires were really nadgery. They need some attention. Top room light works. Really pleased with that. So happy. So I know what I've got to fiddle with. If I show you one, these plugs where I've had to disconnect them to thread the cables through, I need to disconnect them again and check the wires, how they fit in and meet up with a little prong thing. Something's not quite right, so they're not making contact quite right. So that's going to be a bit of fiddling. And if I show you around the back, just stepping off my stool carefully so I don't fall, I've got all of these cables. Most of these do not have their plugs attached. So, because if I look at the wiring, that one's not too bad actually. That's possibly doable, fiddleable. If I show you another one. Sorry, try and get it in focus. You see, it's got wire coming out of one bit and nothing coming out of the other. So I've got to strip that, get it back in focus. I've got to strip back that plastic coating to get suitable wiring exposed and then fit the plug on. I'll get there. It's nearly time to move in. But the builders are still in the kitchen. Lots of work to do in there before the occupants can move in. They better get a move on.